Welcome to this week's session episode thing of Burning Questions. Joining me, newly arrived from Mars, having mated successfully with the erstwhile rover, discovered it, and never saying anything, is of course the half-man, half-machine Rhapsody, better known as Groundhog.
He did the thing.
Also joining us, having plunged his ring deep into Mount Doom, which is the name of his favourite gigolo that he likes to visit once in a while. Go with it. With a burned-in handprint upon his face, it is, of course, Nitro Typat.
This is Burning Questions, right? I didn't somehow travel through time and make it to postcards or something, did I?
It sounds very postcards-like, right?
Of course, it would not be a stream without the gorgeous, elegant, currently has a cat on their lap, and just possibly the most popular person upon Twitch. It is, of course, Noscavian.
I was going to say, he's not even there. I was expecting you to introduce Riker.
Damn. Well, now I can't
Should've
because
thought
you
of
had
that,
the idea.
It's burning postcards.
And last but by no means least, having now got a baby face, having removed their beard, and is a reject from the dwarf world, it is, of course, Ms. Hutz.
And Riker.
And Riker, who looks just gorgeous. I'm
He's
sorry.
very
Cat looks
comfortable
comfy.
at the moment.
Mhm.
He is out.
We all want a cat now. So, last session. Was it who has got any highlights or anything they want to particularly talk
What
about?
did we do last session?
I don't know.
That was my first thought. Last session was a good session, but there's no glaring milestones that we had.
The bar is overrun. You met with
that's right.
Oh,
Loki
yeah.
from Cult of Mithras.
Mm.
And
We got
how could you,
Rhapsody.
of course, forget you now have a new coterie member?
Oh no, of course that was the one thing I did remember.
You mean she hasn't always been there?
Pardon?
It's like Buffy's sister from Buffy the Vampire. She's always been there.
Never watched Buffy.
Anyway,
Well, Rhapsody's
No.
always just been in the background.
exactly. And did no one here watch Buffy?
I watched Angel.
No.
I actually never watched Angel.
I think Buffy's
I-
older than...
I
I
watched
prefer
the
Polish.
movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Well, yeah.
Fastcat says, highlights, Shiver made the coterie STH up at least once.
Shut the hell up.
I assume that's what he means.
Can't remember
When was
that.
There'll be a few more.
Probably with Lorvan at least once.
No, wasn't it in the car? I think it was in the car.
Oh, yeah. That was good.
Were we arguing about something? You're like, and they drive there.
Yeah,
It was like-
yeah,
Yeah. Do you want to discuss anything in the car? Nope. Okay. So you arrive.
yeah. hmm
But yeah, Miss Hartz, if you can take your mind back, because I know you've had a busy week so far, but anything that stood out for you? Any thoughts or anything?
I'll think of more as we talk. It was fun having Rhapsody there. It's fun having someone new in the coterie. The argument with Peter Griffin was interesting. I wasn't exactly expecting that to go like that.
No, what did you expect?
I expected to just kind of join and be okay with it, but
Mhm.
once we started talking,
Yeah, I completely agree. We went in there going, well, we're joining a cult today. And then we left going,
Yeah.
I don't know if we're joining a cult.
exactly. It's like, I don't know, it's very culty.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, the cult of Mithrids turned out to be a cult.
Cult, yeah.
I did like how you were all discussing blood bonds for like nearly an hour. And I'm sat here thinking, you really think I haven't taken this into consideration?
We know.
That's why we were discussing it.
Yeah, we were taking it into consideration. We knew you probably already did.
Traven knows his favourite part, but he doesn't want to say anything.
Is it where you overran our bar with a bunch of people that we don't know?
Business is booming.
That it
Mhm.
is.
Yeah, we
But
need a
he's
second
not-
bartender.
Yeah. Dolores
Third.
needs time off.
The food.
Or
Okay.
third, yeah.
Rhapsody, how are you at
Twilight.
bartending?
Bye, Rika.
No more cat on my lap.
The cat on your lap ended up in a flap and has now gone to... crap?
Fap?
Lap up some water?
And eat some flapjacks.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, I want flapjacks now.
Two very different kinds of flapjacks going on right here.
Probably.
Yeah.
What are flapjack? Other than pancakes.
There's this amazing snack made from oats, golden syrup, and about a ton of sugar. They're amazing. Everyone who's ever had
Well,
one
now I
that
want
doesn't know
those
what they
too.
are is like, why don't we have these in my country? These are amazing.
Oh, like Tim Tams.
Sort of.
Tim
Hey,
Tams are
Stormy.
great.
Nitro. Last session, any
Yeah.
highlights? Anything that stood out for you?
I've done a better job at being a coterie member than I thought. Because, like, I wasn't genuinely expecting when Xavier went off on us all, I wasn't expecting to get I don't know what you've done yet, but you're a bad father. And I was like, yeah, that's true. Like, I was expecting something else. And then when I started thinking about it, I kind of went, oh yeah, I really haven't done anything to screw over the coterie.
Yeet.
Fast
Yeah,
Cat
so-
wants to know, what is your car situation at the moment? New car or repaired?
Like Shiver said, the window's brand new. Probably should look at getting a different car though. Probably something similar, different shade of black.
When does Xavier not lose it?
I mean, it's every episode. I was just surprised that he didn't have any ammunition against me,
He left it all
and
in
I was
his haven.
accused of being the Ripper. Yeah.
Last, but of course by no means least, because Noscavi... Oh no, you've got more? You got more?
I was just gonna say that Rhapsody's probably had the best first game out of everyone that's joined us. Because I don't know if I did on game, but Amon's first game, he almost got the coterie caught for murder, and Xavier almost broke the masquerade. And
Yeah, we nearly
then-
almost joined a cult.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think. To be fair, she stayed in the car. And then during Isaac's first game, we got attacked by the Scourge. So
Was it Isaac's
I
first
mean-
game?
yep, I believe it was. Yeah, because he was introduced along with Chuckles, and Chuckles was there. So you're
Oh, yeah,
doing
fast.
good, Rhapsody.
Fast Cut actually reminded me of quite a big thing that we've all forgotten about. The summoning of Maria.
Oh, that was really cool.
Yeah. Rhapsody. As a new person, I'm assuming you have the most to say.
No, I don't.
No, pass.
I was.
Go ahead.
I
Sorry.
I did enjoy for the for this last session. Thing I really did enjoy was just there was this one thing going through my head throughout that entire discussion with um, Peter Griffin. Um, of don't pull just don't yell at the guy if you just don't want to join, you can leave.
Well, that's what I was
And then, of
asking.
course, someone turns around, yells at the guy that he's being
Well,
the asshole. Of course, it's
Premier.
like I will let you up.
To be fair,
Uh,
that was a big move by Doctor to
yes, it
do that
was.
in a Venture's house. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on the necromancy ceremony we're finally able to throw in?
That was actually a bit more, not bad way, mundane than I was expecting. It's
Yeah,
just like, oh yeah, we raised the dead. Yeah. Well,
yeah, like
some of it.
the whole visual of it being a silhouette on the wall, like you said, is
That
how
was
it
cool.
works in that universe. But it was different because I didn't know that. But it almost felt I didn't quite expect Maria to just talk to us like a human being. I was expecting more of a ghosty type. Maybe not the but maybe like whispers or something occultish rather than just, oh, I'm having a conversation with a shadow on the wall.
I did consider it, but then I looked at the lore, and it seems fairly random. But she was also recently deceased and things, so
That's true. Yeah, I didn't
I
think
didn't
about
have to
that.
put in much effort for the sound for that, because otherwise, Jesus, I have no idea how I
Although
feel
I'm,
about that. But I see your point, and I do agree with you.
Mhm.
In an ideal world, if I had more technical expertise on it, the scene would change to something a bit more spooky, and she would have a voice effect or something
Mm.
that make her sound disembodied. But yeah,
Well, I just thought it was going to be harder to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's kind of the point, is to make it seem easy, because this is what the Giovanni, the Hecata, this is what they do. We're talking about necromancy, Noscavian.
Oh, perfect. Sorry, I
Yeah.
got caught in human conversation outside.
Ugh.
Oh,
Ugh.
humans, how boring.
Yeah.
But yeah, Miss
What
Miss
about
Hartz was
necromancy?
Miss Hartz was saying it seemed just so easy to
It
do.
was easier than I was expecting. Yeah.
Mm.
Ah,
I think that's the
so
impression they want to
oh,
give, because it is what the Hecata do. It's something they're completely specialized in. It is an everyday mundane task for them. What are your thoughts?
yeah. Well, Clan Hakata, they are the cult of death, the clan of death. Um, the basically in the previous edition, in like revised in V20, there were a slew of clans with access to necromancy. One of the what do they call it? Sub schools of magic. One of the blood sorcery paths. Well, actually, a couple of the blood sorcery paths were necromancy, like Path of Bone, Path of the Supplica. Then you also had the Nagaraja had a special set of necromancy for them. The Giovanni had some necromancy. The Samadhi had some necromancy, and they kind of just brought all these different necromancy bloodlines and clans, brought them all together, and like, you're Hakata now. We're just gonna put y'all in a blender, and now you're Hakata. Um, and another reason that ritual was so easy is we kind of had everything lined up, and
Mm.
Maria didn't fight.
Yeah, we had been planning it for a while.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so like part of that,
Planning.
I have to find a fetter and one of my discipline powers lets me find a fetter. I have to basically inspect the area to see if it's ritual worthy. So I have a ceremony or a discipline power that lets me basically see is the veil in this area thin enough for a spirit to come through. So I have to do that ahead of time, and I think Shiv and I kind of did that off camera. And then the oh wait, no, I did do that on I rolled for that. Sorry. I forgot.
Yeah, there was
I
something
rolled-
about that.
Mm.
We
Yeah,
had a discussion
and then-
about it beforehand.
Yes, and as part of the ritual, I need the fetter, a photo ID. I need to know the name or have the name written. Which, since I had her license, that was basically a signature and a photo.
Mm.
And then when we summon Morea, now normally, depending on the distance the spirit has to travel, it can actually take multiple nights for a spirit to show up. Shiv was nice and let it happen then. But potentially you could do the ritual, think it's a bust, and then the ghost shows up and messes with you several nights later.
Mm.
And once the ghost is there, they are under no there's nothing making them listen to you. They can act on their free will and help us in Moea's case. And another interesting thing is if she freely helps us and I don't have to compel her, there's nothing making her tell the truth. She may have been truthful. She may not. I don't know. However, if she were to resist us and I have to go to the next stage of the ritual, which is to compel the spirit, again, more rolls, and then depending on the number of successes, that's kind of the number of things or the difficulty of things I can demand of the spirit. And if they're compelled, then they have to be truthful. But if I only had a few successes, I might only get a few questions.
I mean, you've got a few.
Yeah,
I think you have a few necromancy rules, so you can actually bind the spirit or something, and you can actually force the spirit to be yours. I believe.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You've
I can
also said that
compel-
you can like threaten the feather if it's like a person or
Yeah.
an object or something like that.
So that's part of the compel ritual. So in order to compel the spirit, you basically hold the fetter hostage. And once you do that, you can force the spirit to basically do what you say within reason. But it basically makes them hate you. So we could potentially call Moya back if we wanted to, because she doesn't necessarily hate us. But if we ever have to compel her and she hates us, she'll probably never answer the call again. So it's kind of a thing like, yeah, you can
And then
compel
who are
the
you gonna
spirit,
call?
but
Or she'd ghost you.
Ghostbusters. Yeah, yeah, you can compel a spirit, but you're gonna burn that bridge afterward.
Hmm. No, I thought
Should
it
we
was
just
actually.
raise a spirit to make it go haunt someone?
I think so.
Yeah, we could do that.
Because we've talked about raising Kalo and binding him to Xavier.
Yeah, like and don't necessarily
Start it off
necessarily-
subtly. Xavier, why have you got two shadows?
Don't necessarily quote me on this, but I do know. Like, I think asking it a question or something, that's usually like I would spend like a success for that if I'm compelling them. If I need to send the spirit to attack someone, I have to spend multiple successes because it's a more complex thing. And the thing I was joking about with binding a spirit to Xavier, there's actually as far as the ritual steps go, there's the summon the spirit, compel the spirit, host the spirit. So I do technically have the ability to open myself up to possession, to bring a spirit into myself and share my body with.
How good are you at impressions?
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you imagine Isaac talking like this, and all of a sudden he turns into Kalo for a second, and then it goes back to Isaac.
And then the next step after that, or actually, yeah, I think it's a 4th level ceremony. Is the bind the spirit, and the bind the spirit, it's permanent. It does require the sacrifice of a life, but it's permanent, and you can bind a spirit to a place, a thing, or a person, or maybe it's just a place or a person. It might just be a place or a person. But yeah,
Not a thing. You can't make a ghost doll.
I could probably look it up real quick. But I definitely know you can haunt a place or you can haunt a person.
I love it. Now, Burning Questions
what-
is slowly turning into what we do in the shadows with that idea.
That's what I was thinking with the doll. That, and I watched a movie the other day called The Boy, which is about a doll. It was,
I watched one
was
about
okay.
a doll. It was called Chucky.
Oh, yeah.
Similar premise.
Chucky, I think, is just okay.
I mean,
That terrifies my
That's
wife.
off topic.
I think I had too much. Okay. First of all, a doll being possessed is even scarier in Japan. But also, as a kid, my parents used to let me watch horror movies. I watched Pumpkinhead when I was 6. But my mom would not let me watch Chucky because she thought that would be too scary. So my whole life, I think Chucky's going to be some scary movie. And
I'm just sitting here thinking about the part in Ready Player One where they use Chucky as like a weapon and they throw it at somebody and the guy just goes, "It's fucking Chucky," and my cousin's name is Chucky, and now whenever he enters the room, that's how I greet him.
nice.
oh, my parents didn't care about that either, Tavi.
It was
I was raised on MTV.
Yeah. It wasn't that my parents wouldn't let me watch scary movies. They just knew that I was terrified of scary movies. But I remember I found I can't remember which one. It was one of the Alien versus Predator movies. I saw it on TV one day, and I was watching it because it fascinated me. I thought that was my first foray into learning what the xenomorphs were and how they worked. And I thought it was I know. And I thought it was fascinating. But it was like one of those things where every time I thought a jump scare was coming up, I'd turn the channel and watch something else for a minute and then flip back. And I remember for weeks after I did that, every little movement I saw out of the corner of my eye, I thought was a face hugger, and it terrified me.
When I was about 12...
It's almost worse if you don't watch it.
Yeah.
When I was about 12, we went to this place in Piccadilly Circus. If you don't know what Piccadilly Circus is, it's the scene that's always in every movie about London with the billboard and the statue of Eros on it. That's Piccadilly Circus.
I've been there.
Pardon?
I've been there.
Really? It's horrible, isn't it? Pigeons fucking everywhere. And people. But more pigeons. Anyway, there was this place called the Trocadero, and it had all sorts of weird attractions. At this point, they had Alien War, where everything was... You were basically taking on this tour of a Weyland-Yutani facility, and there was this guy who was playing a Marine, and there was someone who was dressed up as an alien that chases you around. That terrified me when I was a kid. And I loved the Alien movies, but that terrified me.
My parents took... Sorry, not escaping.
Oh, I was just saying the Alien movies are cool.
My parents took me on the Jaws boat ride thing at Universal Studios. I was not okay with that. They sat me right on the seat that faced outward on the boat, so the animatronic jumped right up at me. I was not okay with that.
Oh, see, that sounds fun.
Not when you're 5.
Me and my friends would go to the haunted house every year. Now, it was probably early middle school when we started going, so we could go alone. Parents would just drop us off. And we'd always go through twice. And I would be in front the first time and in back the second time, because in back is even worse. I like scary stuff.
Yeah, whenever I would go to, I'm terrible on those like haunted house or haunted
love
trails because, well, I'm terrible because I usually laugh instead of being scared. So like I always try to
I've
see
done that. Yeah.
if I could try to like spot the people ahead of time. And one thing that's fun is sometimes if I see them and they see me see them, they'll just let me walk past and then jump out at the next people. Because I won't tell them. I'll just like I'll see them. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just act like I don't see anything, walk by, and then they get the next person.
Yeah, that's the one thing about being in the back, and if you expect them and stuff, especially after already going through one, you kind of know. I mean, this was one of those haunted houses you didn't take the same way every time, but some of the places were the same, so you kind of knew where some of the scares were. So there were so many times they would like pull you aside, go shh, and then they would take your spot. So you're like working in conjunction with them.
I'm going to use this tangent to quickly say this week's episode of VTM for London's Burning has got a disturbing, possibly disturbing scene in it involving domestic violence, so you have been forewarned.
Trigger warning.
Oh, Shiva, you
Yep.
sound better tonight.
Which
That's
makes it
going in the
sound
bank fast
bad
now.
when I'm sick. Which sounds bad when I'm like, oh man, I'm going to miss it.
Yeah, so the reason Shiva sounds better tonight is he's actually using the proper mic.
Because Windows sucks.
Sorry,
I prefer
everybody.
doors.
Test. Okay, I had to see if I was using the right mic. It happened to me. I forget which game it was, but it happened to me. I played the whole session. I didn't realize I switched to my webcam mic. I went to play a game, Star Citizen, with some people, and someone said, "Hey, while we're doing this bunker raid, we should play Paint It Black." I'm like, "Oh, that's a great idea." So I mute my mic. I start playing Paint It Black. I unmute my mic. Like, can you turn that shit off? I'm like, "Oh, wait, you could hear it," and then I muted my mic again. Like, can you hear me now? Like, yeah, we can still hear you. Turns out, yeah, my mic wasn't muted because it was my webcam.
Because Windows likes to reset all of your sound settings and give your default sound settings to your graphics card.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does that every time I update.
It's like, why are you not feeding my Windows audio to voice meter? Why is it going to my TV? My TV's muted.
I ended up with 2 default devices, and because I use voice meter for microphone, I thought because it's set to default device to pick up the default device, so I automatically thought, okay, it must be picking that up because it's a default device. If it's, if the default device is changed, that never occurred to me because everything's already set.
Yeah.
And Also, 26th of June, 8 p.m. PDT, over on Vancouver by Night, there's going to be a massive charity stream. They are streaming for Rape Crisis Centre and the Trevor Project. They have a fantastic lineup planned with Matt Mercer as Beckett, Shane Easton, Omega Jones, Kelly Butler, B. Dave Walters, Tanya DePass, and Cynthia Marie. I think we're going to be able to raid them afterwards, so there shouldn't be much, if any, crossover.
Yeah, we should be ending right around the time they start.
Do not miss that one because that's going to be a big, good session.
And
I hope I pronounced those names right.
And people like Matthew Mercer might direct some RPG people towards VTM, which is good.
I mean, I've always thought VTM
I'm so sad I'm going to miss that.
There'll be a VOD. I've always thought of VTM as, basically Dungeons and Dragons is the most, at least well-known raid with all 12 of us. Damn right.
No,
I
I
only
agree.
Be 12,
yes,
but it's the
all
12 best
12
people.
of you matter.
Yeah. My brain blanked. I don't know where I was going. Continue.
So I've always thought of RPGs. You've got D&D, which is like the epitome of RPG, something that pretty much everyone on the planet knows. And then second to that is VTM. That's how I've always thought of it.
Like I've said that one time, VTM is well known enough that people have heard of it. They just often don't know what it's about. Because I had that one friend where I was like, "Hey, I'm currently playing a game with people," and they were like, "Well, what game?" I was like, "VTM," and she responded, "Oh, the vampires and sex game." I went, "Kind of, yeah."
Yeah.
So when I was playing it in the 90s, it was super popular to LARP it, which made everyone think it was like this really weirdo emo game. In fact, I think
LARP is
there's
still
LARPing
popular for
rules.
it.
There's also Shadowrun,
That'd be
which
interesting.
is also pretty popular.
I mean, I think
Probably not quite
Yeah,
as popular.
there's LARPing rules.
Yep.
In this one book.
LARPing is
No
briefly mentioned
touching.
in the V5 core book. But
No
be
weapons as props, which means I actually kind of break that rule.
yeah, but we're
No
not
drugs or
LARPing.
drinking. I break that rule.
I wish I could.
How does the LARPing rules work? Are you in the middle of a conversation and some random guy sitting on the edge being your storyteller, and you're like mid conversation, he just jumps in and goes, "Okay, now roll."
No clue.
Because that'd be interesting to watch. Well, I mean, technically, the storyteller could be part of the conversation, but
There is there is still a huge LARPing VTM community, and they do these massive events. There was going to be one this year, but obviously due to Corona, it was cancelled. But I think they rented
they said
a
right in the
castle or
rules, no
something.
drinking.
They rented a castle.
I think
and they
I
had
remember
all
you
these players.
talking about that. I remember something about somebody renting a castle in a conversation.
Rock, paper,
Yeah.
scissors.
Rock, paper,
to resolve.
scissors.
That's what we need to do. We need to rent a castle.
What?
We just
We all need to meet up and rent a castle and play vampire for a long weekend.
The stream starts and everything's super echoey, and it's like, sorry for the audio, folks. We're in a castle this
We're in a
week.
castle.
We-
God,
we-
it really would be what we do in the shadows.
Oh yeah. We do a live stream of an in-person VTM game at CitizenCon.
I need to get a mask.
I'm game for that.
Yes, Tavi, that's one of the things with not just VTM but many roleplay groups is you can have a bad experience, especially if it's with complete strangers to you, because everyone's got their own interpretation of how they play the game, and that can clash.
I've had worse experiences with friends than with strangers.
Well, and there's can be too much implied consent with friends.
Yeah,
that's true too. Yeah,
no one really talked about what they were expecting out of the campaign or what they wanted.
Yeah,
so people all wanted different things.
I was just gonna say, I know that it's a really good rule to have that we have, but I still, whenever Shiv warns us about content that might happen in the game and reminds us of the safe word, I can't stop laughing. Our safe word for anybody to know is faucet. And I don't know why, but just going faucet and then leaving is just a funny picture to me in my head.
Because it's a word that shouldn't really come up in our games.
Right.
It's also incredibly it's definitely an American word. I would never use the word faucet deliberately as a I would say tap.
Oh, tap.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah, it's a tap.
When you said faucet, when I read that, I was like thinking, okay, so if we are ever in a situation where we're talking about a sink, and there's like something coming out of this tube of water, what am I going to use to avoid saying that word?
I would just say
you can also use spigot.
Well,
entirely off topic. There is a subreddit called "What the Faucet," which is just really bad.
I've seen that subreddit. Yeah,
I love it.
But yeah, we kind of use tap as well because if you get water out of the sink,
yeah, you get water from the tap.
Yeah, it's tap water.
I misheard it a couple of times though, the safe word, and it was only when it was written down. Oh, that's what you. I thought you were saying forcep.
No, that could come up in a game.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Actually, Shiv, that's a good point. Why isn't it pineapple? Knowing you and your love for that song.
Because then I would never get to hear it.
My favorite food is a pineapple.
Shiv loves
Pineapples
that
are really
pen,
nice.
pineapple, apple pen song. That's why I was asking.
Not just that song. I love that
That
dude.
song.
Yeah, that dude is. Yeah. You sent me a song he made that was about sushi, and I sat there and listened to the whole thing because it was great.
It is great, isn't it? He does.
Yeah, you sent me the Pineapple Pen song, and I listened to the whole thing. I'm like, I really just sat through that. And then I listened to the next one.
He does this song where he flexes on people in wheelchairs called "I'm Standing."
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
And it's a really good song too.
Oh, I need to go listen to that after this.
Remind me, I'll send you the link. It is I quite like him, to be honest. Fun fact for you, completely random. This came to me because he's a comedian. Anyway, there's at lunchtime over here. There's a news show. The newscaster, I've always seen him just wearing a suit, and he's always very serious. You know, just the odd bit of banter. I assume. I can't understand a word they're saying. But my wife came back, and when she was actually had the day off, she said, you know, that guy isn't just a newscaster, he's also a comedian. It's like, your newscasters
guy.
are also comedians?
Would make
I
the
can't
news more
remember.
enjoyable.
I can't remember what country it was, but
It's a
some guy
teleprompter.
some guy ran for office and got elected, and he was best known for being an impressionist of the person that was in office before him on like an SNL skit or an SNL type show in their country.
I could tell you more stories about some of the comedians I've seen over here because they're different. But instead,
Yep.
let's talk about Vampire the Masquerade, specifically Bloodlines 2. Because we haven't spoken about this. They the last announcement they did, which was a couple of weeks back now, they've revealed that Damsel is coming back from the original game. At least, you know, at the very least for a cameo. She was an Anarch Bruja. They've got the original voice actress back, and I was going to say they've touched up the model for it, but that's a terrible way to say it. They've reworked the model to make it a bit more modern, and there have been some very, you know, there's been a mix of reactions. Moscavian, you've played Bloodlines.
Yeah.
I assume you've seen the teaser with Damsel in.
No. Yes, Damsel is awesome. She's I
Is she
particularly
often
did like-
in distress?
No, her email
No.
and her email address in the V5 core book is damselnotindistress@something.com.
That's
Is
amazing.
it? I never
Okay.
picked that up. Oh wow.
I see. I
Sorry,
think it
no,
might be the
Stephen,
Anarch
continue.
source book, but it's in one of the source book. That's because
Oh,
her
okay.
thing. Tavi will like this especially. Damsel's like thing to do is to catfish white supremacists and then feed on them and kill them.
Oh, that's an Amon move. Right? Well, maybe not the fishing part, but
Yeah,
that was essentially.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say that was my original plan for Amon was like full on vigilante. Like he would go around finding shitty people doing shitty things and feed on them and kill them.
Yeah, like the whole Anarch bar was awesome, and I love that song they played in there. I think it's "Let Your Bitch" by Gina Torturers is the name of the song.
Genie Torturers. Let Your Bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Good band, by the way.
Yes, yeah. I could be wrong, but she kind of reminds me of like a female Rob Zombie a little bit, but maybe that's not accurate.
She doesn't look like a homeless person.
No, she does. I just kind of mean like the way she sings. but I could be completely off base. I'm mostly just thinking of Public Enemy #1. But regardless, Damsel is awesome. She's very like short and terse with you, and like if she thinks you're being cross with her, she's like, "I'm gonna fuck you up." Like she's always wanting to kick your ass or kick someone else's ass. She's cool.
If Amon ever makes it up the food chain of the Camarilla, he'll probably get more confident in doing that kind of stuff. But because he's still a child in the eyes of the Camarilla, he's not. He doesn't want to do that yet. But yeah, I want to get to a point where I'm just like, hey, you, I'm gonna kick your ass, okay?
Yeah, and I think she always calls you Cammy, even
Yep.
after you join.
You're muted, Miss Hearts.
I think she still calls you Cammy.
That kind of got on my nerves because it was like, come on!
Yeah, and then I think she explains it as, "Don't worry, this is a good thing because if everyone thinks you're still working for the Cammies, then you're like our insider."
In addition to that reveal, they've also revealed that they're doing a collector's edition with various bits. You can get a resin statue of, is her name Elif or Elif, something like that?
Yeah,
Something like that. She's a Tremere contact who's not very Tremere, apparently. She owns one of the nightclubs in the game. A poster of Seattle. Do you get the soundtrack on vinyl with the collector's edition?
yeah.
Soundtrack on vinyl. And something what else is in that collector's edition?
If you get the standalone one, I think that's it. If you get the other one, the game, the expansions. But let me look.
I think you definitely get some free. You definitely get some DLC with the collector's edition, but if you pre-order at the moment, you get the same DLC. But yeah, and that's available. The standalone is only available on the Paradox store, so it's done in euros, and you will have to pay shipping costs. I was actually quite impressed that when I ordered mine, the shipping costs were not fucking extortionate.
Mhm.
But yeah, and I don't know if you get the season pass though if you buy collector's edition with the game.
I think you do. If you
Yeah?
get the collector's edition with the game, I believe it's like all the DLCs and stuff.
That's
I
good.
believe.
That's all right then.
Mm.
But still no release date.
I'm trying
Which
to
is
look at
fine.
it there. Yeah. All right. So the full collector's edition, 28 centimeter resin statue of Elith, a poster of the map of Seattle, a steelbook case, soundtrack on 7-inch vinyl, Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition core rulebook, digital download, 3 DLC, the first Blood pre-order pack, unsanctioned Blood pack, and Season of the Wolf pack.
Ah, so you do get the season pass then.
Yeah. Now, if you
That's
get
all
the standalone one, it won't have the game or the DLC, but it'll have
But
everything else.
the season pass aside, DLC is what you get if you pre-order the game anyway, I believe.
Yeah, the first Blood pre-order pack, I believe you get for free by pre-order. The Season of the Wolf and stuff, I think, is additional cost.
Yeah. I've spent way too much on this game.
Me too. Shiv, we've probably done the same thing. We both pre-ordered the game, the full game, all season pass on Steam, and then we went and bought the CE standalone. Yep.
But that's,
And I'm gonna have to get a
it's the way to do
Yeah.
it.
I mean, Bloodlines was amazing, and the terrible thing about Bloodlines is when it launched, it was a flop. Like, who made it? Was it Treyarch or
Troika,
another
yeah.
company?
Troika made it.
Troika.
Troika.
Yeah, they went under.
Yep. That was the last game they
Bloodlines-
released. And
Right
they were only
after.
able to release one patch for the game, which they did after the company went under and they did in their own free time. And it still
Yeah.
didn't even fix the game fully, just let you complete it.
And
Wow.
it wasn't until afterwards that through word of mouth and fan made content, both supported free time of the developers and then the community supporting it, that it became a cult classic. To this day, people still play it. Whenever you mention the game, someone goes and reinstalls it. I think the most recent mod I saw for it came out in like 2017, or something like that, which is saying a lot for a game.
Well, they're still
that
making the
was-
unofficial patches for it.
Yeah, and the game came out in 2004.
I think it came out the same week as Half-Life 2. It came out just before Half-Life 2, I think, because it was
No,
again.
I
Was
think
it?
came out exact same time because
Exact
they had a deal with what's it called? They had a deal with Valve, basically saying, yeah, we can't actually. Where Valve was like, yeah, you can't actually release your game before we release Half-Life because we want our game to be the first one on the Source engine.
That's right. They used the
So they
same
released
engine.
around the same
Hmm.
time later that day, I believe.
But good game. Very good. If you haven't played it ever, don't play it now because the graphics will kill you.
Unless you're like me and enjoy playing old games.
There's always an exception. Yeah.
I
I
have
still play
debated
it.
whether or not to play it. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Funny you bring that up because starting very soon, either tomorrow or wherever, I don't know, time zones, the Steam Summer Sale comes up and it's bound to be on sale.
Oh crap! It's the winter sale.
Oh, yeah, winter sale for you, yeah.
No, it's the summer sale.
I always bring
My
that up.
brain went, wait a minute.
And a lesser known game, which I thought was still quite good, was Vampire the Masquerade Redemption, which was old pointy clicky RPG. I thought it was great.
I've heard good things about it, but I have not played that. It was a little too old for me.
Got that on release. Somewhere I've still got the little CD case for it. Well, back in UK, but you can get that on GOG. Dirt cheap.
Yeah. Not saying it was necessarily too old for me, just by the time I had heard about it, I had already played Bloodline.
Oh, wow.
And so,
I think Redemption
Well,
came out in the 90s.
yeah, I mean, I've played Diablo. I'm sure Redemption and the original Diablo are probably about on par. So I definitely have played those kind of games before. It's just so I remember when I got Bloodline, GameStop was still mostly a thing. It was still a thing. GameStop exists now, sort of, but back then GameStop was big. You went there for all.
I used to have their subscription.
Yeah.
Same. I had the little keychain thing
Yeah.
that you scan. Yep.
Yep.
I went to GameStop and I found this box with this awesome, sexy looking vampire on it. I was like, ooh, I want to play this game, right? So I take it up front to the guy, and he looks at the game and looks at me and he says, you're not old enough to buy this game. and I'm like, oh crap. But I had gone to the store.
Shit, am I
all
older than
my
Isaac?
cousins- Back in my day, I had gone to GameStop with my cousins, and my one cousin, she was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years older than me. So right in front of the guy, I just give my money and my game to my cousin, and I'm like, hey, can you buy this for me? She's like, yeah, sure. So she goes over to, she's like, I'd like to buy this game. He's like, yeah, okay. Takes the money, gives her the change. She gives me the game and the change, and it's all good. They don't let you do it that nowadays, but back then they didn't care. Like, as long as the person paying is old enough, we're good.
I never got questioned about my age when buying games. Probably because I was a girl.
I never got the question.
I never got. I legitimately have actually brought games, not been carded, and I think I was technically underage, but it was because I had a big fucking beard at the time. And I've always looked a few years older, so they were just like, "Yeah, this person's clearly 25." I was
I don't
17.
I don't think I've ever bought a game from a GameStop that required me to check my age. Most of the time when I bought stuff from GameStop, it was like DS games, Game Boy games.
Yeah, I think I
Oddly
bought
enough,
most of my stuff from GameStop after I was of age because it wasn't that much of a thing when I
Yeah.
was underage.
oddly enough, that same cousin who bought Bloodlines for me because I wasn't old enough, she got turned away from a rated R movie because she was the only one of us who didn't have her ID on us, even though she was old enough to sign and chaperone for any of us, any of the rest of us. They all thought she was too young and she didn't have her ID on her. So
I think the funniest thing was the summer after my friends and I all turned 21. We went on vacation down to Texas, and we were like, "Oh, let's go to this like thing where they serve different kinds of beer and a hot dog and hot dogs and blah blah blah." And so we all ordered these like special beers that are hard to come by and whatnot. And we're like, "All right, you're gonna card us, right?" And the waitress just goes, "Y'all look old enough," and walks away. And we went, "Oh, okay."
And as earlier mentioned, there is Vancouver by Night now hosting us. Thank you very much, kind sir.
Mm-hmm.
That is where the charity stream will be, and we will be raiding the fuck out of you.
Very exciting.
All 12 of us. Also, if you haven't caught Vancouver by Night playing VTM, fucking catch it, because what a game. One of their players has the best vampire name I've ever seen. Trash Panda. Such a good name. Anyway, Ripper theories. Has anyone got any new Ripper theories or anything they want to discuss?
Not really a Ripper theory,
Every time
but
I think I have it.
yeah, that too. Definitely doubling down on the werewolf thing now. But other than that, just as an aside, real quick, people were talking about in chat, but I didn't want to interrupt the Bloodlines conversation. Is I'm really curious on what happened to Father John, because he's dead now apparently. um, I kind of want to look into that.
Maybe
'Cause-
we should just talk to Father John a bit, see what happened.
Oh yeah, summon him up, and he goes, "What do you want? What do you want from me?" And I just go, "Oh, John."
Stands there with his pair of marigolds and sock suspenders.
Mm-hmm.
man, if we manage to find a feta for him, it's gonna be something weird. His feta is gonna be
Yeah.
something weird. You know it will
Mm-hmm.
be.
I can only think of inappropriate things.
Same.
Exactly.
Same.
It'll be something very inappropriate.
It was Kalo's thong, which I threw out the window.
Nah, it's a ball gag.
That's way better
can't
than what
remember.
I was thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We're probably
To be
thinking
honest,
very similar.
probably, yeah.
But no
Maybe
new Ripper
something he-
theories?
Doubling
See,
down
so
on
I have a
werewolf.
hard time thinking it's a werewolf.
I don't
Why?
think-
Yeah.
What's
I
your
mean,
line
I
of
keep
thinking with
getting
Ripper
led-
at the moment?
Well, I keep wanting to go back to like a gangrel, a vampire that changes into a wolf. But
Hmm.
we only know one of those, and I don't think she was very old.
Actually, I think we might have known two, and the second one's dead.
Well, I mean, I guess we know Who's the dead one?
Because God, that got glossed over way too easily. But oh yeah, I found a dead body in the bar. It had claws and fur. It was
Oh,
really weird.
yeah.
I threw it in the garbage though. It's fine.
Yeah, that's in the. That sounds like a gangrel because it wasn't as big as a werewolf.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah, I bet-
was trying. Amon doesn't know anything about how the gangrel can change and whatnot. The only gangrel he's ever met is Tamia, who seems
Lamia.
pretty human like. Lamia, sorry. I had a friend in elementary school named Tamia. But yeah, other like there was nothing really glaring other than the fact that Fastcart gave her large breaths when designing her, I guess. There other than that, there was nothing glaring.
You say that like you didn't do such a thing.
Mine was a joke though, and was never meant to actually be in the character. On character.
Uh-huh.
For some reason, every time I hear Lady Lamia's name, I think of like a Lamia or a Gorgon or something like that.
Not where
I always think of a
I'm
I'm
lamination
blaming you,
floor.
Shiver.
It's true. Yeah.
What for?
For thinking something not stream appropriate.
Oh.
I'm just glad I made you think of something like that.
You know, I have a new theory that whatever the third clawed thing that was in the dumpster, that's the Ripper. Yep, has to be the Ripper.
Yeah,
Yep.
And what do you know? Mo
easily
took care of him.
disposed. That would actually be kind of funny.
That'd be fun. Hey guys, by the way, this guy dropped in and was like sounding all menacing, and he was just like, "I am the Ripper. I'm the one that you seek." Blah blah blah. So I killed him, and I just threw him out back. Everything's fine now.
Rhapsody, do you have any
Yep.
Ripper theories?
A really pissed off mutant goldfish.
Huh.
Now,
Um,
technically,
Aware.
I do know another gangrel who I thought it was him for a while, but then not so convinced. I thought it might be Beckett for a while.
Oh. Amon.
But then I talked to him about it and I'm not so convinced.
Amon might jump on the maybe it's a gangrel train, but right now he doesn't know what a gangrel really is. He just knows that it's a vampire clan. But as soon as
We need to have vampire ones.
yeah, we do.
If only
But
he
yeah,
had a
no.
sire.
Right.
Well, when I said we, I mean I meant me and him.
But yeah, he that's why he was like really confused because she was like it had claws and it was furry, and immediately I was like, well, Amon wouldn't think gangrel. Maybe it's a halfway between wolf and human werewolf or whatever. And that's why I was trying to ask all the questions. Like, you say it's got claws. How big are the claws? Are they size
Those
of
were
your
good
head?
questions, actually.
Yeah. And so I was trying to think of all the questions that Amon would think of, because in my head I'm like, oh, it's probably a gangrel, but I'm like, I can't go with that assumption because that's meta knowledge that Amon doesn't have.
Yeah, I feel like it could be a gangrel or a Setite or something flesh crafted or a gargoyle.
Mm.
Like those
Really
are kind
leveling
of
it down there.
I know, right?
The reason I don't think it's a gargoyle is because we thought it was a gargoyle the first time we killed the Ripper.
Gotcha.
First time
I
we
mean,
killed the Ripper, air quotes.
I don't think it's a werewolf. If it was a werewolf, I'd imagine maybe it would be a streetwalker, just because I think every time it's happened kind of close to a city, even though it's been underground, it's never been like out in the woods. and generally werewolves don't like to go into cities.
Hmm.
But I still don't think it's a werewolf. I'm kind of leaning towards something fleshcraft. Whatever it is, it has to have claws. I mean, I guess it could
I
be
got.
called to the
Well, why would a
Bahari with
werewolf?
plant claws.
I've got a new theory. I think it's Mithras.
I've got a
Mithras.
theory.
I just think it's Mithras. He is back from the dead or whatever, and he's the Ripper.
Is he? We haven't played Fall
It's
of
my
London yet in
theory,
our game
Shiv.
to determine what happened to him.
Well, because I'm only saying this because of the whole like I've noticed a pattern that Shiver clearly. I mean, he didn't actually reward me, but he pointed out that I noticed that there is a pattern of blood mixing and whatnot and stuff
I have
like
a question for Vancouver by Night. Do you ever get it when you're talking with your players and like they have a really good thought? It may not be relevant to anything, but you just think that's a really good thought and you want to encourage them having good thoughts. And then they're like, oh my God, this means something. I must follow this lead. And you're like, oh.
That's the
Yeah.
bane
No, I'm-
of every dream.
Yeah.
No, I'm not following that idea. I like Amon still thinks it's a werewolf because he's very prejudice is the right
Werewolf
word.
hater.
Yeah, and but no, it's like a fun fan theory. It's like there's a pattern, so just Mithras.
I mean, it could be another supernatural too, but
Yeah.
because the rules on other supernaturals are so scant, I don't know if like Shiva would want to convert something over. unless
Shiver
he-
gave us vampire or gave us werewolves
He did.
Mm.
He did. But I mean, there's
and
I'm trying
Fae.
to think, oh, really? You guys had a Fae? Interesting. It could be a Fae, but Faes usually get their asses kicked by vampires. Just because vampires tend to be their kryptonite because of banality.
But then the Fae have also, they tend to just ignore kindred anyway. It's
Yeah,
usually got to be the kindred that approaches the Fae. The Fae will rarely approach a kindred.
yeah. I mean, if there's a being of living sunlight or living silver, do you think you're gonna approach it?
Nope. I don't know. I want to know the silver guy.
Not if you were a werewolf.
He's a surfer.
Oh
Ah.
yeah.
No, but if anything, I think the theory of it being like a really ancient gangrel makes right now the most sense.
Yeah. Well, Willie, when you talk about elder vampires can have quite diverse discipline spreads. So if we're talking like elder level vampires, there could be a wide variety of elder vampires who just happen to pick up some
Yeah,
pretty
and
claws.
yeah, to be fair, you don't have to be gangrel to have claws.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe this could have been like some sort of pirate who had their hand cut off and they had like a metal claw in place and became a vampire. And they just like clawing everything with their claw.
Somehow that is more ridiculous than your cybernetic werewolf theory.
It could be worse.
possible.
You could just have a person who lost their legs and their hands and just turned it into swords and claws.
That's a good idea. Shiver, I'm stealing that.
Yeah. Or maybe like a really messed up vampire who will like peel off their skin and then sharpen their fingers into bone claw.
Shiver, you won't let me have the mech suit. I'm gonna find something ridiculous.
If you're a member of the technocracy, you can get a mech suit.
That's mage, by the way.
Okay,
Nitro.
that makes sense.
Again, Just to re-clarify, everything is magic in World of Darkness. Science is a form of magic.
Yeah.
It only works because people believe it works.
That's cool.
Take care, Vancouver. Thank you very much. And we'll
Yeah.
see you for your charity stream. It's going to be great.
Yeah, Nitro Mage is cool, but I would say it's probably the most difficult of the World of Darknesses to play.
I
because
just like giving Shiver a hard time.
you can really get paralyzed with too much possibility.
Yeah. I don't like games like that.
Although I like how, with a mage, a basic mage can completely destroy a fairly new kindred. However, when a fairly recently awakened mage has got no chance against a Methuselah or an Elder.
Oh yeah, a recently awakened mage is little more than a human. I mean,
True.
a lot of the first dots of all your spheres. First of all, really to be effective, you need multiple spheres, anyways. But the first dots are usually just sensory oriented. It's like the first dot of time. You have a perfect understanding of time. You know what time it is down to the nanosecond.
They
And you
get
can tell
time
if some-
zones?
Yeah, they get
Oh,
a.
that's
They would have a perfect
Hey, Thantos.
understanding of any time zone at any time.
oh, that
And,
sounds terrifying.
and
It's more
they
the
can also-
GM
That's a
can do.
superpower.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can also figure out. They could also figure out, if someone's screwing with.
That,
But they can't actually manipulate it themselves at one dot.
They make time
Um,
zones, says Celisk.
yeah.
Anyone
one of
can
my-
make a time zone.
Any character that has like extremely good knowledge about time and whatnot, or can be the best. There's a character on Critical Role, and one of his traits is he knows what time it is, no matter what. No matter what, he has like an internal clock that lets him know what time it is. And they were in a cave that was leading to another city, and they were there for hours and hours. And he just goes, so every hour on the hour, I just go, ding dong, it is now this o'clock. And and he just kept doing that. And it was the best.
That's actually how you fuck me up as a GM. You give your character a specialization in time zones, and then say, so what's the time over here? And I'm like,
my character would know, Shiv. Tell me.
See, stuff like that is entirely
Werewolf
stuff
attack.
like that is entirely.
It's like Shiv would
I
be
call on my mech suit.
Shiv would be
Rocks
like,
start to fall.
your character knows what time it is, so I give you permission to look it up your own damn self.
Stuff like that's always to mess with the storyteller, because you literally have to do nothing. You're just like, I would like to know what time it is. Shiv.
yes, like someone playing the shopkeep when he said, I'm open to negotiation for price, and then someone replies a kiss.
Now, Cedra would have said that in character too. Cedra knows how to flirt. It's a performance.
Mhm.
In fact,
I
it's
do
more of a
love-
performance thing with Cedra.
I do love the fact, though, that you paid your debt by teaching him how to pull a coin out of his ear.
That was sensational.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a real asshole with those time ones.
Mm.
Like you can go, so Shiva, what's the time in game? And then you go, oh, it's about 3:30ish, and it's like, what's the precise time? I know the time down to the nanosecond. Give me the time.
I do know a guy who does that for his games. He actually works out weather patterns, times. It's madness, and no one ever. It doesn't even need to do it. It's just he feels he needs to.
He enjoys doing it. Okay.
That's fair.
I think it's a
Holy crap.
love-hate relationship.
And with correspondence, that's spatial stuff. You can get a perfect understanding of distance and measurements and stuff like that, which is great for
Yeah.
a sniper. but otherwise not super useful. Then to contrast that, if you get 5 dots in both time and correspondence, you have such like demigod tier power with that in mage that you could basically turn anything you want into a TARDIS. You got a phone booth, you can turn it into a TARDIS. You get a closet, you can turn it into a TARDIS.
That's kind
Have
of one of
fun.
the things I'm dreading about the upcoming session. I've spent literally days fleshing out this one bit just because I know what you're all like, and you're going to trip me up by saying, so how big is this room?
Is it
Work
bigger on
across
the
the
inside?
wall.
Yeah, something
To be f-
complete-
to-
yeah.
Yeah.
Something completely insane that you don't need to know, but you're going to be like, no, I need to know how big this room is.
To be fair, a lot of the time, because I know I'm guilty of asking questions like that, is I'm just trying to get a better mental image of what's going on. Because sometimes you're like, this is what's going on, and my brain just goes, but what does it look like?
I do ask that when we need to investigate a scene because I don't always have a grasp on everything we can investigate.
Yeah.
Any questions, by the way? Anyone watching or here?
Shiver, what time is it right now?
9:41.
No, it's not. It's 8:41.
No, it's not. It's
0941.
7:41.
It's 12:41 p.m.
It's 8:41 here.
That's-
Or technically, if we want to get real precise, Nitro, I would wager that it's 2042.
No, it's 2020.
It's midnight. It's 42 minutes past midnight in UTC.
How much rum does it take to be happy? Thank you, Traven.
I don't know. Let me check with wine.
Too much.
How much is a bottle?
Fast Cat wants to know, did you like the
Uh,
clip I posted earlier? I believe that was the what was that? Amon.
Hey, it's me, Amon. You don't know me. Yeah, that one was great. I totally forgot I did that. I didn't watch it, but I did it, so I remember it pretty well.
I remember it happening.
Yeah, that was pretty good because that was me like trying to give Isaac the benefit of the doubt of like, okay, she's not showing up, but you did something occulty. I was the last person she saw before she died, even though Kayla wiped her memory, so she never met me, pretty much. So I'm just like, hey, it's me. You don't know me, but you might remember me from when you died.
Why
Yeah.
did Kalo wipe their memory?
One, because he's Kayla. Two, he realized that the doctor, she knew the doctor somehow, and thought that he'd be better at getting info out of her if she was talking to him alone.
But I would
without
like to
people
just
she
say,
didn't know.
he never explained that. He just wiped
I know.
her memory
I know.
and then walked away.
Yeah, I know. And then he did the exact same thing later with Father John, not for any reason other than to fuck me over. So, because he was like, if anybody's gonna get caught, it's gonna be Amon because he ate my dog.
On the necromancy thing, like Noscavian said, a spirit doesn't always instantly appear. It can take many nights.
Yeah,
And it
Yeah.
was this awkward moment where, well, the spirit is not going to automatically appear. I am going to make this, I'm just going to sit here and let you sweat for a bit. But it got a bit awkward.
yeah.
Before, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that it was like we had never done it before. Like Isaac knew that it was happening pretty much as it should, but Amon's just like, all right, where's the ghost at? Let me help. Hey.
Right before Maria's shadow appeared, Isaac was getting ready to tell the coterie, well, sometimes these things can take several nights.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say that. And then the
I
code
mean-
would just be like, "Oh God!" And then like Xavier stomping back up the stairs.
They were like, why the fuck are we waiting if this could take several nights? I'm not gonna
Mhm.
stand here for a week.
I mean, I knew it would descend too much into comedy if I waited too long. I wanted a little bit of awkwardness, and I knew it was going to be happening that night. And if I didn't do it at that
Mhm.
precise time, it would have fucked off somewhere else. And I don't know. God knows with you where any of you would go. It's completely unknown.
Mhm.
Xavier
No,
goes
that
to walk out and door slams.
Yeah,
No, that awkwardness was perfect. It felt just like it should have.
that's all right then.
Yeah, it was good.
This week you're going to a haunted house.
Mm.
Nice.
Also, to be fair, I forgot what difficulty you had to roll for, and I knew you rolled a 3, but I wasn't sure if you even succeeded or not. So it was half of, oh, the ghost is probably just taking its time to get here, or 2, Isaac failed and I didn't realize it.
Yeah, that was a close one because I was like, when I got 2 successes, I was like, fuck, all this build up, and if I botch this roll.
Mhm.
But luckily, it was 3 successes, and when I willpower rerolled, I got a success. Otherwise, I probably would have just kept burning willpower because it's like I'm not like there's just too much build up for this. I have to succeed.
Groundhog has typed in chat. I'm still wanting the Kalo, Doctor, and Isaac comedy episode where Shiva tries to wrangle them to an open mic night. I can think of at least one drawback with that.
One of those people is dead.
Heath.
Actually, technically, they're all dead.
I mean,
But one's dead, and the others are undead.
Mhm. We could just bring for that episode. We could just get Balo instead.
Yeah, Balo.
a doctor, an old man, and a ghost walk into a bar.
And the barman says, "Sorry, we don't serve spirits here."
Oh, set
Just
up
like that
and-
old,
Always room for
yeah,
you, Tina.
just like that that old man. You walk straight into that one.
At least he can walk, Nitro.
Hmm.
Second man ducks.
Pass cart. Tina looks particularly disabled. I'll skip the
It's
question of
kids,
asking you
Tina.
how
2
you
days,
are.
okay?
I'll
Leave me
skip the
alone.
question.
I've had a rough 2 days.
Yeah. So now that you've joined us, do you have any particular highlights or memories from the past session?
Yeah, who the fuck are you? I enjoyed that debacle, whatever you
Oh
want to call
yeah.
it. Yeah, that was probably my favorite. You gotta,
Yeah.
if you're gonna join the party, you just gotta dive right in. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then I feel like anytime something's going on in the game, our RP banter off to the side, not in voice, but like talking, is hilarious sometimes. And so here we are, listening to Baby Metal, just staring out the window.
Not wanting
Yeah.
to look at each other because
No,
they will come to blows.
I also
somehow-
love the fact that it's become like the running joke that that's the music that we all listen to or whatever. Because I thought I'd offhand comment to Xavier, it's like, hey, the Baby Metal Station's on channel 3 or whatever, and he gave me the 2 thumbs up and walked out and immediately turned it on.
Yeah, it's like, Isaac's like, how about some polka? Everyone's like, shut up, let's listen to Baby Metal.
Is polka metal a thing?
I believe so.
I'd actually be surprised if it wasn't.
I just
That's,
imagine when the doctor got dismissed, it was like he walked out to the car and it was like, muffled. And he opens the door and it's "Give me chocolate," real loud, and then he shuts the door.
The most ironic
Oh,
thing
that's
about
the-
that is I would never, ever, in a million years, even think about uploading any actual Baby Metal and playing it to Roll20.
That's the reason why I picked
It's
it. As
okay.
my
We can all play it
go-to.
through our speakers.
Yeah, that's why I picked it as my go-to favorite music. Is because I know how much you hate it.
Like,
Heavy metal.
How
It's
many
kind
of
of
us
our
have
nod
voice
to the
meter?
yeah, it's kind of our nod to the fact you live in your too.
Also,
There
literally,
are some
when I joined the
fantastic
coterie,
Japanese metal bands out there, and you pick
Yeah, that's
bloody
actually
Baby
really-
Well,
Metal.
but you enjoyed them.
Well, we're not. Exactly.
Yeah, fair.
we don't like Harry because you like playing him.
actually, that's one reason I do like Harry. But this is just one of those things that the Brojaw have. Like,
That and it was kind
Metro
of
says Baby Metal, and I'm like, yep, and we're both just like,
And the FT's just
Amon
here
joined-
going, fucking kill me.
Yeah,
Fucking
Amon
kill
joined the
me.
coterie. Amon joined the coterie, and I was like, oh yeah, Amon's going to be this like hard ass cocky dude, and so I'm going to go in and just call everybody by descriptions of what they look like. So
No, that's
like,
right. You were going to do that.
I was calling Cedra. I
Xavier
called her
might have ruined
Sparkles. Well, no, actually, it was more so that like I almost got us caught by decapitating that ghoul, and so
Yeah.
Amon kind of just went, "Okay, maybe I'm not as cool around these people as I want to be." But yeah, no, like I was calling Cedra Sparkles, and I think I called Xavier Boot Camp or something like that. And Xavier just
was good.
responded, "Hey, Baby Metal, get over here!" At me. So I've kept that joke going.
I looked up heavy metal polka, and it's horrible.
Excellent.
Well, is it better
I'll-
or worse than regular polka?
Yes.
I guess it's better because the beat's heavier, but it's still polka.
I mean, you don't really listen to polka for the beat, but polka has a beat.
Imagine the polka beat with like a guitar and drums and snares instead of like. Well, it still has. It's bad. Okay, it's bad. I'll link it after the questions. I don't want to.
I've now
he
now
puts lighter
highlight.
fluid on his cymbals.
Fastcart's highlight from the last game was Maria saying, "That's the first thing you asked. Not even going to ask me what it's like over here to die. To if there's any light at the end of the tunnel or what the afterlife is like."
But we talked about that.
Afterwards,
Yeah, afterwards. But that was great. Like
No,
I
we
asked her-
talked before where we were like, "Oh, we're not going to ask her that stuff."
yeah, I did like that. That definitely made her seem more human because she's like, hey, I've seen all this cool shit, and you guys are asking me dumb shit. Like, let me tell you about this cool shit.
I mean, I had no idea how to play someone whose spirit has been brought back because that's World of Darkness focuses on the monsters and things. That aspect isn't. It's more done as a plot hook or a plot device. They're very specific.
Can you see me?
Circumstances. Well, yeah.
What?
So
Yeah,
it was.
and-
I didn't really have much of a clue on what to do with her.
And like each World of Darkness game kind of has their own, like they all overlap in the World of Darkness, but really each one kind of has their focus. Like Vampire is kind of very much in the material world, in this like political backstabby intrigue of vampire society and the shadow world that runs everything, kind of, area. That's Vampire's niche. To get the ghosty side of things, you got to go play Wraith to really get that. Yeah, like
Well, I mean,
it's like. Go ahead.
Even Wraith, though, it's not like these are spirits of Kine, so to speak, that have been brought back. They're very specific kinds of race of ghosts, because there's ferryman. Shit, that's the only one that sticks out in my. Is ferryman a spirit or is that a demon?
I think it could be
I haven't
easy.
really played Wraith, but I don't think he's a basic Wraith. I think the ferryman is something special. I don't know if he's a demon, but he's something special.
And to be completely fair, I mean, I know a lot of us do it accidentally, that we just run around seeming like we don't really care about mundane or like really exciting stuff like that. But in my head, I kind of excuse it by going, I'm a vampire with with lower humanity than a human. I could care less. I called on
literally.
your spirit. Yeah, I
Literally
Yeah.
could care less. Yeah.
I
I
have
take any more stance than I will.
a question that I'm going to go round the table with, starting with Tina. For someone starting at VTM, what advice would you give them?
Go into it slow.
That's going in the bank.
Seriously, there's a lot of shit
Yeah.
to remember. Like, we even don't remember it all, but just kind of overall, the big thing is like the world too. You know what I mean? So yeah, you're a big bad vampire. Even if you're brand new, you're still better than you were than a human. But don't go into it like you own everything. Go into it slow. You know.
You mean like I did? I'm here
Yeah.
to kill shit. No, you. This isn't a game where you kill shit a lot. Oh.
I mean, and feel free if you want to give
And then
any,
you almost die twice.
feel free if you want to give any, specific to our game advice as well. If someone wanted to, was just joining our game, what advice would you give them?
Don't get over. That's the wrong word.
Don't get penisy, kid.
No, I was gonna say don't get overwhelmed, but it's more of I don't know the word I'm looking for. Like somebody stands up on you and speaks loudly. Don't kind of cower down. Don't back down.
Oh yeah.
In our game, yeah.
Don't revert into your shell just because you're new.
Yeah, literally dive in. Do something. You're a vampire. Make a fucking comment.
But I mean, it
especially
can be
Pretoria.
intimidating. Especially for our instance, where we've been doing this for almost a year now. But to come into this point, it can be quite an intimidating thing because they may not be aware of absolutely everything.
Well,
they don't need to be.
Yeah, and you may have made a character that is literally younger, or maybe the same age, but not as experienced as some of us. Even Amon in our group is the youngest one, quote unquote. He's still relatively strong, and he might be stronger than your character. So, and we've been playing this a while, so we may actually stand up on you and say, "Sit down, little child." Like, it's okay. Also, if you feel like your character would fuck off, do it. Xavier has. Xavier's milked right the fuck out.
Yeah, that's why I thought Rhapsody did a good job incorporating herself into the group, because he literally Xavier did the Xavier thing where he shoulder bumps her as he walks by, and she goes up to him later and goes, "What the hell was that? What's wrong with you?" And I loved that little interaction where Xavier was like, "Oh, you aren't going to take my shit like most people do. Okay."
I mean, there was a lot of underlying stuff that nobody knows about why Xavier's pissed off at that, though. So, I mean,
that's fair.
Nobody that knows Xavier has been like, what's up? So, yeah, we'll never know.
I've said that. You haven't answered any time I've asked.
No, he's gonna hold out right now. Yeah, he's
a
ball of fucking drama.
I get the feeling that if Pandora asks, you might be slightly more open with her, but not much. Problem is, Pandora doesn't give a shit.
Nope.
She just wants the results.
Maybe
she is not mama. She's grandma.
Yeah.
It's more like eccentric aunt.
Like, oh, I just see grandma loves you, but she ain't taking your shit. I told you to clean. Go fucking clean. I ain't mama. Yeah.
You had a weird grandma.
I live in America.
Yeah,
That's how
That
all
was
of them
the
are.
opposite.
Yeah, that's
Go to
Yeah,
Italy.
No,
They're
my grandma
worse.
spoiled me. My mom, mm-mm.
I mean,
And-
Morvan's grandma in Italy.
In New Zealand, typically the grandparents are the ones that supposed to spoil you, and the parents are the ones
Yeah.
to go and fucking clean your room. Stop being a little
Mhm.
shit.
I mean, Pandora does spoil us in the vampire sense. She fucking literally took the fall for us once already. Had her arm chopped off, or bit off, or
Yeah.
ripped off, or whatever.
twice actually.
So in the world of vampire, she does spoil us. It's just
Yeah.
she'll do it on her terms, and if I told you to clean, go fucking clean. I don't want to hear. Don't ask
Yeah,
questions.
that's why Amon got her the gift, was because he was like, I was on my own with all this and didn't have to worry about the trials and tribulations of being kindred because I was on my own. And now that I'm forced to be here, the only person that can really answer my questions is Pandora. And yeah, she called me it and treated me like an object rather than a person. A person. But for the most part, she's been other than Cedra, who's been the nicest person to him on.
Cedra's nice. Cedra's nicer than I am.
Pandora's the epitome of treat 'em mean, keep 'em keen.
Mm.
Miss Hartz.
So like that whole thing where I got Pandora a gift, I was like, I know you probably won't give her, two shits about this, but I'm doing this because I appreciate that you haven't just killed me or something worse.
I mean, she keeps the watch on her at all times, and she has Xavier's
Mhm.
earrings on her usually.
Yeah.
It's a subtle thing to just show her appreciation that she can get away with actually doing and not pronouncing it.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a social status to keep too. So
Mm-hmm.
Well,
So wait, Pandora has a watch, so we can ask her for the time.
the watch is dead. She doesn't know how to wind it up.
I like
I
how
thought you said she was
people
from
get
the 80s.
embraced and become fucking stupid. Like
Shiv. Does she wear an Apple Watch as a fashion statement? She doesn't charge it or anything. She just wears it as the fashion statement.
A Blapple.
She's getting the gold.
Yeah, she's a vampire. It wouldn't work.
Gold
Actually, she could have a Blackberry.
Mm.
Apple Watch. There we go. Crap.
To be fair, I did
calculator.
I did write in my backstory has a BlackBerry.
Well, that'd be called a blueberry.
Okay.
Yeah,
Miss
just to
Hartz.
keep sorry.
No, carry on.
I was just gonna say, now that we know that we have to use Blush of Life just to use touch phones, since Amon smashed his phone, I'm probably gonna say that he went and got like a cheap flip phone.
I mean, yeah, the Camarilla's kind of against all technology at the moment because of the Second Inquisition.
Which is still backwards.
And they're cyber werewolves.
From a real life perspective, it's very much a backwards thing. But within the Camarilla, it very much makes sense of going back to using a Nosferatu message network, carrier pigeons, things like that. Things that are harder to intercept with modern technology. Because not only do they not really necessarily understand modern technology, but the old methods worked for them, and it kept them hidden, and it worked in the First Inquisition. So that's their logic to it.
The theme
But
that
you are
goes
right.
through the theme that goes through VTM is that kindred are stuck in the time that they were in, and they're unchanging. So the fact that they don't want to use new technology makes sense, because they're essentially they're the epitome of, why do I need to learn about the internet when I got the newspaper?
some of us aren't that old.
True.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole having to use Blush
Poor
of Life to
Camarilla.
use technology thing, though, has always bothered me, and I think I've said that
I'm-
before. Hey,
I'm-
Google.
Yeah, I'm happy for you to use.
Can a vampire
hey,
not- No, I don't mean you, Google. I made my
I'm happy
phone.
for you to use Booble. I'm happy for you to use a stylus or anything like that. But if you just say, I'm going to sit here with my touch screen, you need bless your life.
What's it called? The other thing about going back to using carrier pigeons, other things like that, something that
We'll never know the end of that sentence.
He froze. The thing about going back to carrier pigeons is carrier pigeons are extinct. It's the vampire's fault.
I mean, in all fairness, though, if you really think about it, in the time that vampires are awake as opposed to humans, they don't work. They're quicker and faster than we are, so they can just get the fuck around real quietly. Also, they live to be hundreds of years fucking old, so they're not as pressed for time.
That's true. You don't need to make that call right away. And we have other things at our disposal, like that brand. I have the ability to talk to my sire at any time I want. Don't need a phone for that.
Hey,
And
sire, how are you? Oh, I'm fine, thanks, love. Can you call me back at a later time? I'm just in the middle of embracing someone.
And what sort of accent was that supposed to be?
Yorkshire.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And like another thing is like in our modern era, like your metadata and like information about you is like unless you're careful about it, it's really easy to find a lot of information about people. Like if they just have Facebook or whatever, like just there's so much. Hold on, I'm
You
sorry.
see? Here's an example. Ms. Hartz, in the interim, what advice would you give someone joining a new game of Vampire, and then specifically joining our game of Vampire?
Take notes. Take better notes than I do. Like label your notes, which I don't. I get lost so much, and I do take notes during our games. And yeah, I'll get to the next week, and I'm like, what did we do last week? We're supposed to be remembering stuff week to week, and then you miss a week. So yeah, take notes.
Yeah, I've been pretty good because I haven't missed any at all, I don't think, since I started playing. But yeah, I don't know what I'd do if I missed a day. I remember a lot, and that's because I'm usually playing.
I'm usually good at remembering just random stuff, but God, this game has been kryptonite to me. I can't remember what we were doing half the time.
You
so.
say that. You said you're one of the nastiest players. Whenever I'm
Because
trying
I
to
take notes.
surprise you, or I'm trying to think of something, or I'm like, this is fucking clever. They'll never get it. Ms. Hartz is like, got it.
Mom got the Kalo thing before I did.
It's not just that. It's other bits, and it's like
it took a look on Amon's face before I thought of that.
You do keep
I
me
don't
on my toes.
I don't even know like why you were like, yeah, I would think it was a kindred and an animal of some kind. And that description alone, my brain just went, oh.
Yeah. As soon as you said oh. Yeah.
I'm a pretty good problem solver though, so that's one thing that I've been enjoying because I can't bring a lot to the coterie because I'm combat focused and that's it. And the Father John kind of situation helped me realize I can kind of get information out of people the hard way. But no, I've been trying to be the person that sits in the back and just listens to everybody else. And if they aren't getting the subtle hints, I just go, maybe it's this since the storyteller said this. And they're like, oh.
Fastcat has asked, did you enjoy making a character episode?
Yes, I made a character. It was nice to go back through it because, like, the first time we were all kind of learning as we went. And now knowing how the characters are used and the type of things you use in it, it was better starting from scratch and making a character again. In fact, I made a character. It's not entirely done, but
when I went through and
Me
made
too.
when I went through and made my character the first time, I hit the what is it? The convictions and capstone, or no, that's not it.
Conviction and
Touchstone. Touchstone and
Yes,
conviction.
it's a lot. Yes.
Yeah, conviction and touchstone. Like I struggled with that, and the one I ended up picking was, to be frank, pretty shitty. So when we were going back through it, and I was just also reading some other stuff, I found something really interesting that I talked to Shiv about, and I ended up kind of retconning what I had, and I came up with a much more interesting kind of like conviction and touchstones that will definitely tie into Isaac's future story, which I think is the intention of those touchstones. So it's good that that episode helped me kind of think about that and basically improve my character.
I mean, the flaws, the touchstones, the convictions, they're not just for the players to be like, for a guide for the players on how to guide their characters and how to be their characters, but it's also for the storyteller to look at it and go, how can I use these to make some serious hurdles for them to overcome?
Yeah.
Celis actually said he needed the book, and hopefully when that collector's edition comes out, if we have the separate PDF codes for the core book, we'll probably do a give. I'll at least give mine away on stream if it's possible.
That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Tavi would like to learn more about convictions and touchstones. So conviction,
touchstones are easy.
Convictions are what is, don't kill the innocent. It's something that is the vampire's code of morals to themselves. Something that is meant to
stay humane
on these nights. Yeah, exactly. And the touchstone is meant to tie in with it as to why they have that conviction. And as I said on the stream, Xavier has got the most brilliant example of, is it no violence towards children?
Mm-hmm.
And that's because of the way he was embraced. I think your daughter was killed during your embrace, but your wife was still
beforehand.
Even I know this.
Yeah, daughter was killed, and then he hunted down the killer, which just happened to be a vampire. He didn't know it was a vampire until he walked in, and all of a sudden, what is this place? But yeah, so his wife is touched on though, because he's
one thing
dead,
I think that's
daughter's
not
dead, blah blah blah.
clear. One thing that I think that's not clear for people who aren't like going through this and making it, touchstone is a person.
Yeah. It has to be.
And that's glossed over so much. Touchstone is a person. And it's a person that keeps you kind of grounded in your humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I don't think that's explained very well.
If a touchstone dies, I read this recently because the episode where we saved my family, I was like, if Shiver really did kill my family, I need to figure out what to change when I find out. And so when a touchstone dies, you lose one of your convictions, and you also lose I don't think it's a humanity stain. I think you lose one of your bits of humanity, I believe.
I haven't got a sheet with me, but I think you get something like 3 stains, maybe 5 stains, if you lose your touchstone. Yeah. You might well lose a bit of humanity as well.
Which I was freaking out about because, like, I feel like losing one touchstone is an interesting, thing for happen to a character, but my wife and daughter in the game are both of my touchstones, so I'm sitting there freaking out. I'm like, what happens when you lose both? Like, what happen? Like, what's gonna happen to Amon if I lose both? So that's why I was freaking out a little bit.
I think you could homebrew that a little bit though, as if the character had a really good thing. You know what I mean? Like, like a dog for Kalo. You know what I mean?
He wasn't allowed the dog.
I mean that seems like,
I know he wasn't
and that
because it's not a
seems,
living
he should have
human
been allowed
mortal.
a dog.
I'm talking homebrewing.
Dog made more sense. Yeah,
You can always play with
dog
home
made
rules.
more sense than the dog pound chick.
I mean,
Yeah.
The dog made more sense.
I'm of the camp with people who, hopefully, when the new player's guide or whatever it is comes out, that they're going to allow you to have objects as a touchstone, because that makes sense. You know, that makes just as much sense to me. Something that ties you to your mortal world. Because, again, perfect example. Sorry to keep using you, Xavier, Tina, but I'm gonna. You could have a pendant with a picture of your wife and daughter on it, and that would be a really good touchstone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm
one
always
thing-
of the thing, like TTRPGs, you can homebrew specific rules. Like your vampires could live off of maple syrup.
Yeah.
I mean, to give a nod, but yeah, you can
Canada
bend
by
some
night?
rules a little ways to make sense of the world. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, your character was embraced early 2000s. He probably knows how to use a computer at the base level, as opposed to somebody that's 90, didn't know how to use a computer anyways. So, you know.
Your kindred was
Sounds
embraced by
familiar.
a maple tree.
Is that why his bark is
Hey.
worse than his bite?
Oh,
Mhm.
You could have a gold maple tree.
Would that
But-
make
Not in
the
VTM.
sap consume? Would you?
That's
Would that
VTR.
make the sap?
Oh, yeah. You're right. Sorry. Okay.
I
would
like
that
how you
make
were
the
like,
syrup.
Oh,
Would that make the syrup consumable by the vampire?
no.
If it was gold,
Oh.
The fluid from the plant or tree does have some sort of special property, but a vampire can't use it for sustenance. Whatever, I forget
Okay.
what it.
Well, I was just thinking about because to gruel something, you have to feed it your blood. So I wasn't sure if
Yeah.
the sap would be mixed with vitae.
It has something, but I don't.
It was a
Again,
yeah.
I mean, even if it was,
That's
though, it would, in a plant's case, the only blood it would have would be the blood that you gave it from yourself. And that,
True.
you wouldn't, that would be like saying, so I can be self-sustaining if I feed on myself.
No.
True.
But I think a good. Has everyone seen the Daredevil Netflix series, particularly season 3?
yeah.
Yes. been a
Okay.
while.
Do you guys remember Bullseye?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Sure.
I think that's
Don't
hit
get it
them up
confused
with
with the
Tina.
movie.
Yeah, not the movie, the show in particular.
No, I know. Yeah.
I think that's a good example of how vampires use touchstones. Because before he becomes Bullseye, when he's like working as a police officer, you find out that he is not mentally stable. Like he is some sort of
A mentally unstable police officer?
he's some sort of I don't know if it's sociopath or what it is, but he has this woman that he stalks, and he like watches her because she's good to people. Like she's good and kind, and he looks at her as being like I want to be like her. I want to be good like her. Like so, he kind of like follows
That
her
reminds me of
around.
a song from the Jungle Book.
walk like you. Talk
Deadpool
like
has a
you.
touchstone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
And
pink unicorn.
he uses her as a touchstone to basically try to be a good person. And then of course, Kingpin gets involved and things go to shit.
I
He
must
loses-
have. I
and
must
becomes
not
a
have watched season 3.
That's a good different way to look at it, though, because
Mhm.
the way I've always looked at it is like a person you knew from your human life. So, friend or family member, basically. But when I want to make a tragic character, I kind of want to make them not have their friends and family members anymore, and that's why they're so tragic.
Yeah, like it's the urn with the ashes of whoever.
Exactly,
Mhm.
yeah. Like
'Cause
one
that sort
character
of
I
thing
was
easily
thinking
could be
of.
stolen, spilled.
Turned
You know.
into chocolate milk.
Yes.
Yeah,
The way I
snorted.
kind of the way I kind of look at it too is I think it's either described this way in the book or somebody described this to me. But convictions are kind of just the types of things you did in your human life out of like instinct. Like you didn't even have to think about it. It's just if you were put in a situation, that was the choice that you make. Like for Xavier, no harm should come to a child or whatever. And mine was like only the guilty deserve death. Um, and luckily Shiver's given me quite leeway with that one because he's like the term guilty is completely up to you. um, but it's like something that you just do by instinct. It's part of your personality. And then when you become a kindred, you lose most of your humanness, but those are some of the things that you kept. And you look in like what Naskavian was saying is like you look at your touchstones and you're like, ah, yes, that's why I want to stay human. Is I want to stay like them, or I want to keep my humanity, this and that. And so when they die, you're like, well, shit, I forgot that only the guilty I deserve death now.
Did we get an
Where-
answer from you, Ms. Hutz, for advice for joining a VTM game?
You got half the answer.
What's the other half of the answer?
Yeah,
First half was take notes. For our specific game, don't let Xavier get to you.
That was kind of my point earlier. Like,
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
back down.
You got to be able to call Xavier an asshole.
especially with everything this coterie has gone through and how they've thrust people upon us already. It's just another fucking like.
Who's eight?
And then
No
just run.
idea what she's even saying.
What?
I think Avery started to eat food, and that's what she's excited about.
Oh, I thought she was doing a Xavier impression.
To be a child again.
What do you mean again?
Yeah, I like there is a method to Xavier's madness. He's not just trying to give the guest a hard time. There are things that have been happening to the coterie, and again, this is meta information, but Rhapsody's getting you're just another fucking person that the Camarilla is going, here, you take care of this. I don't know who the fuck you are. You know,
I
But
said-
as a new person, don't let that affect the way you play. And it can be hard to do because you feel like you're doing something wrong and you want to change what you're doing to do something right and please people. So you kind of have to get out of that mindset, especially with everyone, really. I mean, even Cedra's question newbies, but especially with Xavier.
and
Yeah,
a lot
no,
of the
that
people
was,
we have hold rank, and not in Camarilla rank, but I mean, like, they're much older and more powerful. So
But yeah, no,
I
that
mean,
was a big problem I had.
hang on, Nitro. I think a good bit of advice, and I always tend to tell it to anyone who guests, is anything that happens in game or is said in game is purely meant in game, in character. Don't take anything that's said there personally. Don't take it outside of the game. We're in a world of murderers that are basically fascists and don't give a flying fuck about humans. Don't just immerse yourself in the game. When that's over, don't take it out of the game. Don't take it personally. That's what you were going to say.
But to go off of what Miss Hartz and Tina said is like I fell into that trap. Is Pandora literally threw me at the coterie and was like, "Here, take care of it. Don't make me look bad." And so, and because I wasn't quite sure what I was getting into, there were choices I was going to make that first game. And Cedra and Xavier was like, no, don't do that. And I just went, okay, I won't.
Yeah, you should have
and then later on, Shiver literally told me, he was like, no, you were actually supposed to do that. They just freaked out and didn't want you to, and I was like, oh, okay. So, but and I've kind of worked that into the way Amon is, because that's kind of how I end up playing anyway. Is like Amon's an awkward dude. He kind of just
He's
like
adorably awkward.
yeah. And
You only say that because you're his
so
mummy.
like my vomit.
Daddy.
But no, that's kind of a slope that I'm finally digging my way out of. Is Amon's finally getting confident again, because he realizes that he's not a screw up and he can do things on his own without Xavier or Sidra. And I've trying to, like, maybe not with his actions or his words, but his actions, I've tried to demonstrate that. Like, I love the fact that I could just sit back and, like, I killed a werewolf 2 weeks ago, but this week I just casually sat there in a chair, throwing a dagger up in the air after we just resurrected a ghost and talked to it, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, so.
I mean, I also like to add that it would have to be a slope or a ramp because you have a real issue with stairs.
Amon
they're the
doesn't.
worst.
Oh,
Amon
yeah,
can jump
Amon
really
doesn't.
far.
Amon, like the rest of the coterie, has an issue with doors.
That is
Not
true.
issues. We don't have issues.
We're polite.
Now
Well,
you
no,
are.
We
to
have
be
an
fair-
issue putting them back up when we break them down.
We'll have every time we knock, it'll have to be shaving a haircut from now on.
Oh, God.
Hmm.
Let me
No,
just try
because that
something.
makes
Fair.
walls come to life.
No,
I
it doesn't
joined
work
the
if I knock
coterie.
on the desk, so it's not going to happen.
I joined the coterie shortly after the big thing where you guys stood outside of a door for like 15, 20 minutes trying to figure out what you were going to do to open it. Because I believe I listened to that episode. And so finally we got the confidence of, oh, let's just knock on every door. And then Caesar decided to knock on a door and she broke her hand.
The
And
nunnery.
now we're back. Now we're back to like, maybe not knock on every door.
Well, the whole knocking thing started with Caleb in the office.
Was it in the office?
Hmm.
Not our office, the office of the Toreador, the Anarch Toreador.
Baldrus.
Oh, in
on
the bar.
Yeah.
That was the
Because he
incident.
knocked on our door from the inside.
And then all of a sudden, Baldrus finds out we were in there. I'd love to know how that happened.
Well, he had a messy critical when he was trying to stealth past her and knocked his head
Yeah.
into her ample bosom.
But how does she know it was us?
Didn't we also plant a bug in there?
No, we planted a bug in the
The plant bug in
Asian
there
her
as well,
office.
something.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
okay.
did it in her office too. Yeah, I thought that was the whole reason we were getting in there.
I just want to know why Father John's dead.
Oh yeah, we need to
Because you
investigate
embarrassed him. He commits suicide.
I doubt that.
I don't.
Muscavian,
that. Yes.
any
Still sign
advice
that bill?
for players to join a new VTM game, and then specifically players to join our VTM game?
Yes. So if you're a new player to VTM, definitely avoid making a very knowledgeable character. Because it's one
Yes.
thing
Agreed.
if you have more not as a player, if you have more knowledge than your character, you just have to be careful to not abuse that and to think, does my character know this? But if your character has more knowledge than you do, then it's like you don't know what you don't know. So
Yeah, I've had that problem.
yeah, so,
Yeah.
so that
Actually has 4 dots in occult, but I'm not
That's good.
up on that part of the vampire lore, so that was a huge mistake, and I can't keep
Yeah,
up with it.
even though I built Amon to be very absent of knowledge, I still went
Yeah.
into playing being like, Shiv, would I know that? Like, I felt like every 5 seconds I had to be like, Shiv, what exactly do I know? Even though I designed my character to know nothing.
I think
And
that's
now I'm
absolutely
I'm
okay
much.
to do.
Yeah, no, that's fine, but it's just like I went into the game with zero knowledge about the vampire world and whatnot, other than what Shiver tried to teach me a little bit of. And I'm only now understanding it because I'm in the world and I'm paying attention and things are being explained to me as I experience them. But yeah, like if you're not sure about vampire knowledge, be careful how much knowledge you make your character have, because even low knowledge characters
That's right.
need to know some things.
Yeah, and if say you're a fan of some sort of uh real life occult stuff, like whatever, right? If you want your character to have sort of that knowledge, then you might be able to work with that. But then you might have a weaker knowledge or more like vampire related stuff. But to further that kind of like what you know as a player versus character, I think probably the best thing you can do as a brand new player is kind of what Amon did or what Nitro did, where make a character who's like freshly embraced, who doesn't really know anything. Because then you as a player can learn alongside your character. And whether that means you want to start off as a thin blood or a caitiff or just maybe a freshly embraced vampire where sure maybe you're a Bruja or maybe you're a Banu Hakim or a Vinchu, but you were embraced last week or something like that. That might be a little tricky because the storyteller will probably have to play your sire or another player or something like that. But
Mhm.
unless you want to be like the caitiff, your sire's not there. But playing a freshly embraced character who knows nothing about vampire society, I think is best for a new player.
Agreed.
And that's also going to leave you in very awkward situations with other players, because I remember when I first started playing them on, people would just say stuff to me and I'm just like, huh? What? I don't get it. What? And
Oh, that brings
like,
me
it would
another
just-
thing. Don't be afraid to play your character. Like if we're in a situation and everybody's doing one thing and you're like, my person would like be like no, or they would do something outlandish, do it. Do it. Yeah. Don't stay quiet and use your melting ability 8 weeks into the episode, you know. I'm kidding.
I like
but yeah,
how
like
Isaac gets under Xavier.
That was the first time.
to
well,
be fair though,
honestly, I think
that-
Xavier wouldn't have thought anything about it. But Harry freaked out.
that was a very
And
cool
so-
reveal though, because Harry freaked
Yeah, it
out.
was.
But Isaac is such like a normal old man person that we're just like,
Yeah,
I
so
don't
we're all like, "Oh,
understand
Harry's
why-
crazy."
Yeah, why is Isaac so scary to people?
Xavier wasn't thinking that at all.
And
Yeah,
I
he's
know,
not so
but-
fucking crazy now, is he?
and
He
so we're like,
yeah. Xavier
So we
continuously
continuously-
said, "Who are you?"
yeah.
like-
So we continuously we're like, okay, so why is Harry scared of you? What are you? What can you do? And Isaac just kept doing his like roundabout old man thing where he's just like, well, I'm a vampire, blah 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 blah. And so finally we're like, fine, okay, you don't want to tell us, don't tell us. And then one day you just get the beast rails up in you and you just melt the guy in front of us. And we're like, oh, that's what you can do.
Pate,
I made
anyone?
fertilizer.
And any advice that you give someone specifically joining our game?
Okay.
I feel it's worth asking, not just if anyone wanted to guess, but if someone else was ever in a situation of I want to join a vampire game, but then midway through, what the fuck do I do?
Yeah. I mean, joining a game midway through is definitely challenging. I know like a lot of times when games first start off, there's a lot of leniencies to just get the party together. And even though a lot of times you do that with new players too, it can be a bit more awkward. I remember when I joined the coterie, like I feel like I botched that so bad because it's like here you go, like oh shit, what do I say? But you know what? Once we got playing together and all, like things worked out a whole lot better. But when I first got introduced, I I still think how I botched. But yeah,
You say you felt like you botched it, but I thought your transition was quite smooth.
Oh well,
yeah.
Thank you guys.
To be completely honest, your introduction into the coterie was probably the smoothest we've had.
Really?
Yeah, because
That's
I
true.
mean, with me, Pandora kind of threw me into their lap. And the same happened just now with Rhapsody. But you kind of just joined us for a mission and then just kept showing up. And we were like, all right.
He was given to us.
His character is,
Yeah.
He wasn't given to us
also
by Pandora.
his
Neither was
character is pretty
Rhapsody.
passive too.
Yeah, Rhapsody was given to us by Lorvan as well.
Oh,
I
that's true.
suppose maybe it was just me as a player being very nervous then.
Yeah, I mean
Maybe-
your guy is still pretty passive though. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
he's
But
starting
it
to
kinda
get
makes sense.
into let me punch him. Like okay, hit me.
I got a bat and ball now. I think after the Neverland thing or the crap. Hold on. What's that place called? I know that Alice in
What's
Wonderland.
that
thank you.
place called?
After the Wonderland thing, I gave Isaac a dot in Brawl. Yeah. Fisticuffs, man.
Exactly. Yeah, he's all put up your dude. Yeah.
So
I-
I have
I-
one dice for that.
If Isaac ever needs any formal combat training, I have a room in my New Haven for that. If you want to come over.
Could you imagine
Ooh, Caesar needs to
Among
take you up on that.
this like masked vigilante guy combat training with a 90-year-old man?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
No, get ready
you're a
to
vampire
block,
now. You don't have a
Graham.
crick in your back.
If he was embraced with a
Wow.
crick in his back, he'll have a crick in his back after the embrace.
Well, but you know what I mean. It wouldn't
yeah.
hinder.
yeah. True.
He wouldn't throw a punch and be like, "Oh, my hip."
Isaac
Yeah,
might
a
after being
vampire-
pushed over.
Yeah, well.
And maybe not necessarily for our campaign, but if you do ever join a campaign midway through, don't be introduced as an enemy. Just don't do that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes things difficult.
And don't let the storyteller convince you that you might be the main enemy of the entire campaign.
No, absolutely do that.
That
No,
was
no,
what
that's
I
actually
did.
really
I
good.
didn't
I
convince
kid.
you. All convinced yourselves of that.
You're not
Yeah,
wrong.
he didn't subconsciously do that at all.
I merely laid out breadcrumbs, and you decided to follow them down.
Literally
a certain
put us
path.
in the mirror in front of a mirror.
Uh-huh.
She was
And
like,
you,
"Here's
again,
this
you
delicious-"
assumed that the mirror was being honest with you.
She was like, "Here's this delicious red herring. Do with it what you will."
Yeah, I was gonna say you give us more red herrings than green herrings.
White herring.
What's the opposite of that?
Whitefish.
Whitefish.
Oh.
You give us more red herrings than whitefish.
Oh, it all makes sense now. We've been following the red herrings. We should have been following the whitefish this entire time.
Oh,
See, if we decide to make a coterie of 5 Malkavians, we would have
Trevor
cracked.
got a book.
I got a book. Let's see what the book is.
Unboxing stream.
Make sure the book's not porn first.
Why don't I order a book of that when I have the internet?
Oh,
Well,
What
actually,
was-
technically, it would be porn. It'd be hentai.
what was the Dungeons and
It's
Dragons
art.
book? Book of Erotic Fantasy or something like that?
That was for Fazbear, by the
Oh.
way.
Was that the Dungeons
Yeah.
and Dragons one?
I don't know. That sounds familiar though. I feel like every campaign of Dungeons and Dragons I've watched has had a
Bless you,
has had a
Silence.
joke. Has had a joke. Like erotic book that is in their lore of some kind.
Oh,
we have one.
there is
Oh, the Samakutra?
absolutely-
No, the pop-up Kama Sutra.
So the Samakutra.
Bless you.
There is absolutely a Dungeons and Dragons source book that's a book of. It's called Book of Erotic Fantasy.
Hmm. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
I don't
mean,
think
there is
it's
one.
wizards though. It might be like
I mean,
Probably
even
bards.
Skyrim.
So
even
we're going to be doing a
Skyrim
giveaway
had,
soon.
nice. But yeah, even Skyrim had that book that you could find called the Busty Argonian Maid or something like that.
The lusty
The
Argonian
lusty.
maid.
Whatever.
Close. I mean, she probably was busty though for an Argonian.
A lizard
the
with tits.
D20 Book of Erotic Fantasy sells for like $250. Dang.
Doesn't even have pictures.
I didn't think it was an actual physical book that existed in real life.
Oh, it is. I have a dungeon master who he has every single Dungeons and Dragons.
You were gonna say you had it.
Third edition. No, I don't have it. I don't have all of it. But he has every single, I believe, third edition Dungeons and Dragons.
If it's
To be
published by the
completely-
DMs Guild, I could probably get access to it. I'll look for you, Isaac, so you can get it.
Nitro, your advice.
Yeah. Well, one, I thought Nuskavian's advice was going to be do a little bit of reading first and then going and motioning at his bookshelf. But no, I think that any advice I would give has kind of already been covered by everybody here. Don't be shy. Don't give your character too much knowledge. Speak up. That kind of stuff.
I mean, conversely, don't come in with your dick out either. Those go hand in hand.
That was one time.
That's a terrible phrasing.
Well, you could take that literally too. You shouldn't have to say that, but I've
Don't
dealt
come
with
out.
players.
Don't come with your dick out in your hand. There are just
If
too
there's
many
a-
puns there. I'm having an
if
overload of
there's
puns.
if there's a warning for someone not to do it, then somebody done did it.
I had a Dungeons and Dragons game, and I had a player who, I don't know why, but he wanted to fuck everything in the game.
Hmm.
It was
Let
awkward.
me guess, he was a
That's
It was
a
bard.
lot.
annoying. Yeah, I tried to introduce him to 3 hag sisters to basically bait him in and kill him. You know,
Nice.
because I knew he was gonna take the bait, and then once they got him in his cottage, they were gonna be like, "Guess what, bitch? We're gonna destroy you now and eat you."
I think he took way more than just the bait.
And if there's 3 of them, that
But yeah.
constitutes a mass bait.
Yeah, hags are always in goop.
So, first of all, yeah, I will definitely do an actual giveaway for this if anyone is interested.
Holy, ooh.
You're talking about the PDF code, right?
No,
Okay.
I will give away the actual book.
Fancy.
Yeah, yeah. Any last minute questions? Any last minute statements?
What is money?
What is money? What our friend? All right. So we'll be back with our regular episode of London's Burning on
Friday,
Friday, probably your time zone.
7:30 Eastern.
Thank you. 11:30 UTC, 11:30 PM UTC. Is there steam coming out of my ears?
No.
That took a lot to work out.
That might be 12:30 a.m. UTC.
I don't think it is.
I'm not time zones.
Yeah, I
It's
used to
always
half past
shifting.
midnight, and then I put it in Google, and Google's like,
Mm.
nah, it's 23:30, mate.
I'm a vampire, not a mage, damn it. I don't
Callback
know
humor.
time.
All right, then. Well, thank you all for coming, and hopefully we will see you Friday. And
Mhm.
Friday.
after that, we will be raiding the big Vancouver by Night stream because that's can't miss that.
Ooh,
That's gonna be exciting.
I'm super excited. I'm gonna have to
Mm.
like drink extra coffee to stay
Hope
up.
we can stay awake.
And we're not going until we get the
Amateurs.
line.
Have a good night.